So brutal honesty is a big part of my life. And the way I see is like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if someone isn't able to be honest with me without any repercussions, because that's all I want is I just want the truth and I want the honesty that goes behind it. And if someone can't tell me that because they're afraid of me punishing them, even though I just want to know it doesn't matter. Like I don't plan on punishing people for telling me the truth. I plan on punishing them. Well, there's no punishment. Like this. Okay, there is no punishment at aspect, by the way. I'm not there's um no, there's no punishment, but it's like there's
Yeah.
no consequences in telling me the truth. The consequences is when the quality of work is starting to go down. That's when it's like, hey, we need to have a conversation like what's going on here.
If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. You'll get the latest on marketing, AI, and how to grow your business. It only takes 2 seconds and really helps the show grow. So please hit subscribe and then continue listening. Nikita, thank you for coming on the show today. So you run an email and SMS marketing agency. What's your story? How did you get started in all of that?
Thanks for having me on, Ellie. Excited to chat about all things email and business and whatnot. But I got into it honestly accidentally. I initially started off with a print on demand drop shipping store back in 2016, 2017 when that was all the hype. And eventually that started to that grew very well. I think at at the peak of it, it was making about $10,000 a month, which was great as a college kid, not
Right.
knowing how money works. So like it was great seeing money coming in from online. Um, but after the peak, it started to dwindle because more competition and everyone started to get into drop shipping. And that led me into marketing, mainly because I learned all the skill sets of how to build a Shopify store, how to run the email marketing, like running the Facebook ads, running the Google ads, operations, etc. And it's like, okay, cool. I think I can do this. So friends, family, acquaintances reached out sporadically of like, hey, can you help me set up a website, or can you help me set up my Facebook ads or Google ads? And I would always raise my hand and be like, yeah, I can definitely do that. And eventually there was enough demand to the point where I can start charging people for that. And that led one thing to another, to now being like a full service, like freelancer from like 2018 to around 2020. And in 2020, obviously, we know what happened. Um, Everyone started to go online, so demand was through the roof, which was great. I learned a lot about marketing that I didn't know before because I was trying out like Facebook and Google and email and websites all on different types of businesses. So I learned a lot, and that kind of gave me a really good foundation to start hiring for the demand that I was having and offloading some of the clients that I was working with to employees. Um, which then kind of created another problem. It's kind of hard to replicate the skill set that you have of knowing how to do everything, knowing how to um, sort of troubleshoot any issues, to now having to systemize those issues so that way it's replicable when you bring on talent and bring on employees. And it got to a point of, yeah, I taught as much as I could, but also at the same time, we were kind of not focused as an agency. Like we were doing all the things, but we weren't doing them to the fullest intent, or like to the fullest extent of like, we weren't the best of the best when it came to like Facebook, Google, etc. So we niched down, basically because of burnout. I was burnt out working constantly, trying to put out fires, and my employees weren't burnt out because they were trying to manage different accounts that had different services, and it was just hard to focus. So through that, we pivoted into email and SMS, mainly because it was one of the services that retained our clients the longest. It was the one that we were getting the best results for, and we already had great designers on board. So it was an easy transition. We didn't have to hire anyone specifically or have to learn any new skill sets outside of getting deeper into the email marketing space. And that was around 2021, 2022. And since then, we've just been doing email and SMS and gotten way deeper into that subject, gotten really good at getting results for our clients, even better than before. And it's been fantastic.
That's cool. No, I really like that idea of, taking what's working and then, going, okay, let's niche down into these kind of areas and then going from there. And so, what does sort of your kind of workflow look like in a sense of like how did the email and SMS work together? Are they kind of two separate tools that you use, or do you kind of integrate them somehow? Like, how does that work? I assume you're still working mainly with e-commerce, or what's sort of your client base around that?
Yeah, so it's purely e-com right now. And that's all that we do. We've had a few like B2B businesses come through and we've helped them out, but since the middle of last year, we've only taken on e-commerce brands, and it's been great. The way that we integrate email and SMS is essentially every single touch point that a potential customer or a customer might have with your brand is another communication point that we can tie email and SMS into. So, for example, if someone visits your website, they see a pop-up. Like that pop-up is something that we would create to capture more email addresses, whether it's a 10% off discount code, free shipping, a free gift, whatever it is. I'm sure you've seen like dozens of these when you're shopping for yourself.
Yep.
Yep, we do those. Sorry, but they do work. They do
Mhm.
capture email addresses. And from that point on is like we start to trigger what's called a welcome flow, and that's kind of like the first impression of the brand onto the customer or potential customer, explaining what the brand is, how they got started, more information about how their products are different than the competition, reviews, that sort of thing. So like trying to showcase how this brand is a legitimate brand that you should buy from, whether it's the quality, the foundation, how they manufacture, and based off of customer reviews. There's also another point could be they put an item into their cart, but they never ended up checking out. So then we have an abandoned checkout automation where it sends out an email saying like, "Hey, you left this in your cart. You should finish checking out," or like, "Hey, your cart's expiring." So all these different touch points that a customer might experience on the website is somewhere there's an opportunity where email and SMS can plug into that and help convert that customer from being on the fence to an actual purchase.
That's cool. No, I like that. The different sort of touch points and the email marketing with the pop-up boxes, the abandoned cart sequence. I know they're really effective, especially the abandoned cart sequence in capturing more of those sales. So, and then in terms of, I guess, more of like the SMS marketing, like, do you have a similar kind of flow with like a welcome sequence, or is it kind of more to notify of like order shipments, or what's the purpose of the SMS marketing as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So SMS is complementary to email. And the only reason why I say it's complementary and not the main revenue driver is because compared to email, it's very expensive. So with email, all you need is an email sending provider like Klaviyo, OmniSend, or SendLane, one of these softwares. Um, and basically, you pay for that monthly subscription and it's free. Or you pay for that monthly subscription and you pay for us to manage that. Um, Whereas with SMS, it scales up with the amount of context that you have. So with SMS, it's about a penny per recipient per send. So if you have 100 recipients, it's going to be $1 for you to send out an SMS. I think I did the math right. Yeah, so it's going to be about $1 to send out that campaign. So it gets very, very expensive. So if you have like a list of 20,000 people, it's going to be 2,000, I think, to send out
Quest.
that campaign. Yeah, I'm trying to be on the spot here. So
Yeah.
it gets very expensive. So we try to have it be complementary and strategic to big launches, whether it's a product launch or a big sale. So Fourth of July just happened. I'm sure you got a bunch of SMS messages from brands. I know I did. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that's a big one, or Christmas and holiday. Like that's where a lot of brands get a lot of revenue. So during those time periods, it makes sense to invest in SMS because that's when we see a lot of return. But in the other times, it only makes sense strategically. Now, it does complement those automations that I mentioned earlier. So within like the welcome flow, it makes like if someone opted in for a 10% off coupon code as like their intro offer, if they didn't claim that offer or if they didn't make a purchase, SMS is another great channel to follow up with them. So if they didn't open the email or they opened it but didn't buy, then they'll get an SMS saying like, "Hey, that 10% off discount code is expiring. You should probably purchase." It's worded in a more brand focused way. It's not that direct, but um but that's one of the ways that we use SMS complementary to email. Same thing with abandoned cart. If they got that email and they didn't check out, we would follow up with them like, "Hey, your cart is about to expire. You should purchase." So in those cases, that's where SMS would play into email because like you can send out hundreds of emails for free, whereas with SMS, you kind of be more strategic with it.
Right. It sounds like it's more about using SMS for, say, warm or targeted leads, like people who have halfway through the process of purchasing, but like stopped, didn't make a purchase, didn't complete the order. And so, yeah, using I like that SMS to kind of like as a bit of a net to catch, like, hey, we're still here, like, rather than
Exactly.
going out cold. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's another thing where you don't want to lead with SMS because it's such a personal channel. Like your phone is essentially an extension of your memory if you really think about it. So everything and anything about your life is on your phone. So if you get constantly bombarded by SMS messages like you would with email, you would unsubscribe from that person or like you'd like reply stop or unsubscribe. And that's where we see brands that kind of make that mistake of like constantly sending SMS and constantly having high unsubscribe rates from people just getting bothered by the messages that they send.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think something for like businesses to be aware of not spamming people and not burning that relationship out. And so I guess kind of maybe thinking about obviously AI is playing a big role in marketing now. How do you guys use AI or automations in your marketing process?
Yeah, so we are using AI to help segment some of our lists. So when it comes down to it, you want to be sending the right message to the right person at the right time and going and like trying to sift through it manually of like 20,000 contacts or $100,000 contacts. It gets like no one has the manpower to do that unless you have like a team of 50 people working 24 hours. So we're using AI to help segment certain lists based off of activity on the website, activity, purchase activity, as well as location to help figure out, okay, cool. Like they looked at product one, product two, product three. They didn't buy anything, but they bought product number four. So product three is like a complementary product to product number four. So let's go ahead and send them a follow-up message on product number three. Um, in those cases, it makes the most sense to use AI and leverage it because you can send out mass communication without having to manually sift through those lists. On our agency side, we're using it to help ideate campaign ideas and email ideas. So, for example, if a brand comes on board and they're a like a model toy brand, for example, um, if we don't know how to start off with the campaigns and if the client hasn't given us enough information, we use AI to help backfill any information that we might need. So it'll help us create a campaign calendar. It'll also help us analyze competitors at a much faster rate where it was manual before. Now we can just, add a competitor's website to like Google Gemini's like deep research, and it'll spit out like a 40-page essay on like the competition, where they're at in the market, what like how to position the product or how to position against the product, that sort of thing. So we've used AI to help speed up some of the onboarding as well as speed up some of the ideation processes that would take sometimes days, if not weeks, to complete before.
That's cool. And do you use like any sort of specific tools more heavily than others, or are you setting up your own like automations in Zapier or custom GPTs? Like what sort of tools do you find that you're using? Yeah.
We're pretty loyal to ChatGPT. Like the whole entire team uses 4.0 as like the main like language or the large language model. I'm using personally a lot of Claude as well to help with some writing, as well as to help with any troubleshooting. So we also use N8N. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's another automation tool.
Mhm.
It's like Zapier on steroids, but just like how it is on steroids, it's a lot harder to learn.
Yeah, a lot
So
more like code based. Yeah.
yeah, a lot more code base. So I've learned that Claude is very good at troubleshooting that code base, whether it's through JavaScript or JSON. So in those scenarios, that's where I would use Claude to like troubleshoot. But we use N8N for simple things like content creation or content ideation, just to speed up that process of instead of manually having a conversation with chat. It's using AI to speed up AI even further, if that even makes sense.
Yeah,
No,
for sure. Yep.
but I'm looking forward to hopefully hiring an automation specialist in the next few months to help just because right now it takes up so much of my bandwidth because I'm the only person that's trying to figure this out. Everyone else on the team is working on client accounts and revenue generating activities that I kind of don't want to pull them away from it. So I'd rather just hire a specialist to help kind of overhaul the agency and kind of AIify it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that a lot of people talk about in the interviews I've done on the podcast, where it's like just like talking about future proofing yourself against AI, and it's just across the board is like just learn how to use it. And so I like that you mentioned you're thinking of hiring an automation specialist because it kind of speaks to like yes, AI is going to take some jobs, but it's going to create other jobs. And so I think it's really cool that if someone's listening to this, it's like there is hope. Like just go and learn about this, go and learn automations or AI hacks or marketing in AI, like whatever it is that interests you. And then maybe they could end up working for someone like you. Like I just really like to I've noticed people can get a bit like scared and overwhelmed of, oh my gosh, what's happening? AI is going to take over and I'm going to lose my job. And so I think it's really cool that you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of friends that I know that are in that space that have had traditional agencies in the past, but now transitioning into like AI agencies. And for me personally, it's such a like a massive benefit because I tried to set up like an N8N workflow a couple of weeks ago, and I was like bashing my head against the keyboard for like 4 hours trying to figure out why is this not working for some
Yes.
reason. And
I've
it's
seen
like
that.
like I wish I had someone just like over my shoulder being like, you have like an open bracket right there. And it's like, oh my God.
Right. This tiny little thing that
Yeah.
yeah gets missed. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so running an agency, I imagine, and kind of, you mentioned shifting or pivoting into AI, like what are some of the challenges or like kind of mindset shifts you had to make to kind of stay on top of things?
I'd say the biggest one has been just letting my employees do their work. Like I've never been a micromanager, but it's been like just letting them be in their own zone of genius rather than trying to pull them in different directions of like, hey, can you help me with this project or can you help me with this project? So just being like, hey, this is your specific duty and just follow these things and here's a system. Also another mindset shift is just trying to figure out how to hire the right person. At first I thought it was a lot of culture, which is it is true, like you want to have a good cultural fit, but that led me to rely hugely on culture rather than skill set expertise. So now I've had to shift more of like both. Like they have to be really good at what they do and at the same time fit our culture. And sometimes you have to pay a premium for that. So that's a mindset shift I had to make where not everyone is teachable or coachable. So you have to find people that have a good foundation that can learn to be way better at what they're doing, but also be like a good person to hang around with, as they're working for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. Like I've noticed in a lot of businesses, the owner of the company like affects the culture so much, and you can really notice. Like I notice when I'm working with like lower level managers or different people, it's like, oh, like they're reflective of like the CEO's temperament and culture, which I think is really interesting. So, yeah, I'm just curious, like how, like what do you look for when you're hiring someone in terms of like culture, or like how would you know that they're going to fit in your team, for instance?
I think I it's been like hard to put it into words, but I think like this would probably be the best way to put it is like someone that can tell me that I'm wrong. Because I'm a person like we have core principles and one of them is brutal honesty and that goes through and through because that's how I live my life and the company is an extension of how I want my life to be. So like why would I want to work for a company that I built that doesn't follow the same principles that I follow? So brutal honesty is a big part of my life. And the way I see is like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if someone isn't able to be honest with me without any repercussions, because that's all I want is I just want the truth and I want the honesty that goes behind it. And if someone can't tell me that because they're afraid of me punishing them, even though I just want to know it doesn't matter. Like I don't plan on punishing people for telling me the truth. I plan on punishing them. Well, there's no punishment. Like this Okay, there is no punishment at aspect, by the way. I'm not is um no, there's no punishment, but it's like there's
Yep.
no consequences in telling me the truth. The consequences is when the quality of work is starting to go down. That's when it's like, hey, we need to have a conversation, like what's going on here. And that's how I like to approach my like the hiring process as well as how I take care of my employees is like, can you tell me the truth? Like, tell me if I'm messing something up because I would want to know it. I don't want a yes person. I want
Right.
someone that is able to critique my mistakes and tell me like, hey, we should try and approach it this way or approach it this way. That's where I see the most healthy relationship with the people that I'm interviewing, as well as the people that I end up hiring.
Hmm. No, I think that's a really cool point and something that, yeah, a lot of people I think would really benefit from hearing because it is such an important part of running a business of going, yeah, where am I making a mistake, or where are we holding ourselves back as a team, and like, really looking at ourselves and our companies from that, honest, clear viewpoint of, do we know where we're failing and why? Do we know where we're succeeding and why? Like both are equally important. So I guess like I'm also curious to know like how did you like come to be like that? Like, have you always been someone who seeks out honesty? Like, is it something you practice? Like, is it, I'm just thinking of someone listening going, like, theoretically, like, I want that, but I don't know how to cultivate that, for instance, or how do I get my staff? Or, yeah, like, is it something you kind of just do like intuitively?
I think I've always been the person that's going to tell you that you have something in your teeth.
Right.
And something as small as that, it kind of stems from like what I said earlier of like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I've always been upfront and honest about all of my intentions to every like whether it's my friends, my family, etc., even if it was a detriment to their current like emotions.
Right.
Obviously, like I don't want to be. You can be brutally honest without the brutal part. So there is a way to handle certain conversations, and I've gotten way better at it. Um, that's just something that you evolve with as a person. But I think it came from. I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I think it's been a natural part of me, and it's just gotten better.
Hmm.
But one thing that you could do if, like, whoever's listening, if you're trying to figure out how to cultivate this kind of culture, is just being able to sit there and listen and take in the information without being um the opposite. Oh, without being reactive. So if you can take
Without
the
taking it
information.
personally.
Exactly. Not taking it
Right.
personally and setting yourself aside and taking your ego aside and just taking in all the raw data that's coming in from, let's say there's like a workplace issue of like he said, she said. It's like, okay, cool. Let's talk to that one. Like talk to one person. Let's talk to the other person. Let's put all the data together and see exactly what is going on and then have a productive conversation without any judgment, without any ego, without any personality getting in the way and just see exactly what happened, how do we evolve from this, and what can we do better next time to avoid this again?
No, I think that's really cool and something that, yeah, like the not taking things personally piece, I think is so important. I guess that's just part of like running a business. Is just that's part of what I love about it is that brutal honesty. It's like you could, think you have the best idea ever, but then if you go and test it with ads and or go and test it with another metric, you'll see very quickly if you're succeeding or not. And so it will tell you the truth. And I think that's business as a whole is you will very quickly see the truth or you'll quit kind of thing. Like it's not really, yeah. So I think that's really cool that it's sort of just foundational in sort of who you are and your company and really cultivating that, I think would really help to build a business for sure.
Well, the thing is, when you don't know the truth, and if someone is lying, there's a time delay. And everyone knows it's like time is money, but like when you're really running a business, like time is genuinely like cost. Like it may not be a direct cost, but could be a cost of opportunity. So if someone is not telling you the truth, then you're running off of false data and you're making a decision off of false data. And when you make enough of those decisions, it may not hurt you today, tomorrow, next week, maybe a month from now, but like a year from now, it could be detrimental and it could snowball into something where someone quiet quits and you don't know exactly why, but it could be because of a lie they told you because they didn't have the right environment to tell you the actual truth of what's going on.
Right, right. And it might be even like, something of I'm just thinking aloud here of in team meetings, for instance, like saying to people, look, like kind of like you said, like really inviting the honest feedback, not just kind of being like, yeah, we're all about honesty, but like really like being like, no, no, like what is going wrong here? I listened to another podcast and they were talking about like really asking people like, name three things that you're unhappy with or three things that you think we could improve rather than, oh, how's everything going in the business? It's like really inviting that negative feedback because that's how, we grow individually and as in a business. So yeah, it makes sense.
You actually made me remember a few things. I forget that I have certain things set up, but I do. Trust me, I know how to run a business. But
The
every
system's just
quarter,
really good, so
yeah, exactly.
it takes care of itself.
I do I make the system and then I forget about it and I move on to the next project. But every quarter, I have an NPS survey that's sent out to every single employee. It's anonymous, so I don't know exactly who is submitting the information, but it gives me honest feedback of like, hey, how would you rate how would you rate the current workplace? If you could do something like I think it was like a series of 5 to 10 questions. It doesn't take too long to fill out, but it basically gives me an insight of like how I'm running the business. What are some things that I'm lacking in? Like, for example, a couple of months ago, I had a team retreat and I got everyone under one roof. And the biggest thing that they wanted me to implement is a proper PTO system because it's all over the place. And I had no idea until I met with everyone in person. They're like, hey, I don't know how to track my off hours. I don't know how to submit my off hours. And guess what? Like after the weekend after that, I looked up a software. I think it's called Day Off and invited everyone on. And now everyone knows how many hours they have, how many days they have, when their days are off, and how to submit a request. And now everyone's significantly happier. So it's those little tiny things that add on to not only the experience, but also it makes their life easier because they now know what they're working towards, whether it's a vacation, a holiday, or whatever. And to add on top of that, to like answer your previous question, I just remembered a better answer as well of how do you invite that honesty? It kind of starts from yourself and being able to be vulnerable with your team. One of the things that I don't repeat myself about it, but like I admit my own mistakes. So when you show up as a leader and you say like, look, I don't know everything. I'm trying my best and I'm trying to figure it out as you guys are trying to figure out. And when you do make a mistake, you admit to it, you apologize and you move on. Like that shows everyone else on the team that they can be vulnerable as well and they can be honest with you as well without taking any criticism or judgment behind it.
No, I think that's a really important point of like kind of what you touched on of not just saying, yeah, we're all about honesty and truth, but actually like showing it through the action of, hey, I made a mistake, or hey, I'm learning to like really kind of owning it, and that action I think speaks much louder than any words could, especially to a team with employee engagement and all of that. Yeah.
Well, I think everyone, like when you're in a leadership position, you expect everyone to see you as perfect and as like this person that never gets anything wrong. But I think that could be further from the truth because we're all human. Everybody makes mistakes and everybody messes something up at some point. And it's important to like acknowledge those things because like if you don't acknowledge them and you ignore them, then people will just see you as a liar and then they will then become better liars around giving you information, which is now like a negative feedback loop of
Mm.
not being able to run your business correctly.
Yeah, it's like the culture kind of propagates itself in a sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so what are you kind of looking forward to in the next 6 months, 12 months? Like what are some of your business goals around your business or your company or implementing AI? What does that look like?
Yeah, some of the next couple of months are going to be interesting because for us, a lot of the business comes through for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. As you will experience or you've experienced in the past, you get a lot of emails during that time. It's a big sales period. So for us, that's where we have a lot of clients come through because whether they have an email system set up or they don't, they need to be sending out emails during that time period because that's when you have direct access to your audience through email, SMS, etc. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to is doing another round of hiring in August. So we're bringing on another account strategist and then probably bringing on another designer and then another AI or not another, but an AI specialist to help with booting or bringing everything up on aspect with AI and automation, et cetera. Because for me, I have an idea. I have like a mental framework of like how I would do it and lay it out in Figma with all the different blocks and arrows and flowcharts. But then it's like, okay, cool. How do I build it? And then I barely know how to use an 8N. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the growth towards the end of the year. And I think those are probably like the biggest things that are on my radar right now is just getting things cleaned up and getting the hiring round started.
That's cool. That's cool. And then if someone was say like listening to this and thinking, yeah, like I need to get started, I need to get the ball rolling because obviously Black Friday is going to come up pretty quickly. What sort of the process look like for a brand if they sort of like onboarded with you? Like, do you set up like an email campaign first, like a welcome sequence, an SMS? I guess it might depend on what they've got existing set up. But yeah, what sort of would you recommend to people who want to branch out into the email and SMS kind of niche?
Yeah, I mean, you just had the answer right there. Like, I don't know what the brand needs, so the first thing that we would do is actually audit their account and see exactly what they have set up, what they don't, what they're missing, what the revenue potential is, and if it's even worth working together. Because sometimes, like if the revenue lift is not even if it's lower than like 3 or 4x, then it may not even make sense to work together. So we would go through and audit the account. After that, we'll come up with a plan of action. Most of the time, I think right now till about September is the best time to sign on with an email agency. I promise I'm not biased. I'm being honest, and I'll explain exactly why. Uh, a lot of brands think like, oh, okay, cool. Black Friday's coming up in a month. I need an email agency right now. And it's like the last week of October or beginning of November. There's turnaround time. People need time to create the designs, need to understand your brand, need to understand the messaging. And even if it's just Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like there's a lead time. And a lot of agencies are usually booked up by that point. Or if they do take you on, they're rushing through your work just to get it done because they want to collect that check. Now, the best time is now till September because right now, like if we sign on a client, we'll know exactly what needs to be fixed and fix the issues before it's even time for Black Friday. So that way we maximize revenue. Because a lot of the brands that do come on during like the last, like last chance, there's so many different things that need to be optimized on the back end that they may not even be taking Black Friday to the like their biggest advantage. So we need to whether we need to fix their flows or their deliverability or their audience segmentation, that does still take time. So having like a 2 to 3 month leeway before we have to run a big promotion like that where your business actually depends on it gives us time to flush out any creative ideas, any offers, and make sure that we're set up for success for that time period.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, especially, yeah, like getting in sooner rather than later, not leaving it to the last minute is always a good thing. And so, like you mentioned, segmenting. What are some common ways that you sort of segment people's lists or internally with your own customers?
That's a great question. So usually we segment based off of engagement as well as any. It's a mix of engagement and a mix of like I'm missing the word for it, but like how they engage with the brand, whether it's like through viewing products or purchase history. So it's a mix of that. So if they had a specific purchase history of a specific product, we try to cross sell or upsell them to different products. And then based off engagement, the people that have engaged the most recently are the ones that are highest likely to engage again and to buy again. So we want to keep that list warm. So we typically segment into those two buckets. But the most important thing that we do is we create segments that we exclude. That's the one thing that most people miss is
I
how
was just
to
about to ask that.
which people to exclude. Yeah. So
Hmm.
deliverability has been a big part of email marketing. It's like the core fundamental. It's like if your email isn't getting delivered, then no one's seeing it, then no one's buying it. So you want to exclude the bad apples. And that means like people that are bouncing, people that have full inboxes, people that are potential spam traps, people that are fake emails. You'd be surprised, like even with a brand that's doing as much as like 10 to $20 million a year, we go and audit their account and they have like 100, maybe even 1,000 fake email addresses that they didn't even know about that they're still sending to and hurting their domain reputation, which then hurts their deliverability. So that is a big core part of our segmentation is we exclude more people, or if you're looking at the specific list that we exclude more lists than we include. But the contact ratio is different. Like we may exclude like 2,000 contacts compared to like 25 that we're going to be sending out to. But still, yeah, there's a big list of exclusions that we create.
No, I really like that you mentioned that because, yeah, as much as segmenting based on, yeah, like purchase behavior or different things is really important to really niche down or even, type of purchase or type of product they purchased. I think it's like you mentioned, equally important to, yeah, cut out all of the non-responsive emails because I don't think a lot of businesses realize that that does impact deliverability and like spam scores and all of that. So I'm really glad you mentioned that for everybody listening. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's it. It didn't really get too serious until last year, which is when like Google and Yahoo implemented like new sending requirements, and like a bunch of brands were like, "Oh, like our deliverability went down." So it's like
Right.
we had a lot of clients come on board to help with that sort of case because brand owners don't know what's going on. Their media buyers or their social media team have no idea what's going on. So it's like, all right, cool. We need like an actual specialist to help recover our inbox.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's something that, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of businesses and brands need to sort of look at, especially like going forward. I'm sure it's probably only going to get easier to sort of automate this and to segment, like you mentioned, using AI tools earlier to clean up lists and stuff rather than having to go through manually. So I think that that's something that's really important for people to consider. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, we're almost on time, but I guess my final question would be just to sort of wrap up in terms of like staying focused. Obviously, as a founder, is very difficult. Like you're wearing all these different hats. I mean, it sounds like you kind of hire people to sort of specialize in different areas that you're not able to kind of cover yourself. Like, how do you kind of juggle all of the different parts of running a business and keeping your team coherent and staying focused on goals? Like, how do you manage all of that?
So I try to keep my personal life simple so that way my business could be chaotic. I'm not saying my business is chaotic, but if it does get to that point, I can handle the chaos on one part of my life rather than both parts of my life.
Right.
I don't know, I live a very boring life if you look at it from the outside. I go to sleep at 10, I wake up at 6. I work from like 6:30 till about 4, go to the gym until like 5:30 to 6, and then work on any side projects I might have, and then go to sleep at 10. So like it's very regimented, like routinized almost.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, I try to keep my communication as low as possible in the first couple hours of the day just so I can get deep work done. So I try not to answer any Slack or emails until like 11 or 10:30 unless it's very urgent. I try to delegate a lot of work. So I try to think about like, hey, can this be done by someone else that is better at it than I am? So that helps a ton. And also systemizing and organizing things. I don't know if I have OCD. I've never seen a doctor around it, but I'm definitely very organized and very specific in the way I organize things. And that kind of bled through the rest of the company from me being a freelancer and having everything in a separate Google Drive folder to now everyone in the company using I guess the way that I organize and like growing it. Um, so having things organized and having things kind of in a routine has helped a lot with managing any chaos or anything that may come up.
That's really cool. Yeah, I have found similar works for me as well. Like I actually find lately I've been getting a kick out of batching tasks together and just the productivity and efficiency. I'm like, this is insane. Like I should have done this like ages ago. But anyway, but yeah, just like batching, even like podcast editing, for instance, is one example where I'll record like 10 or 20 episodes and then I'll go through and edit them all. Like I'll edit all of the videos at once in one day, and then I'll edit all of the scripts on another day, or like all of the social media on another day. So it's all like, because then I can just get, like you mentioned, the deep work, like getting into that flow state of just knowing, yep, taking that, and just the speed gains that you can get. And I know for me, like my personality, I don't like to jump from project to project. So I think, yeah, like you mentioned, systemizing and structuring activities is really cool way to run a business. Yeah.
I think multitasking is a fallacy. Like, yeah, like I can be really good at, or I can do two things not good or do one thing really good. Task switching like costs you like 15 to 20 minutes before you can get into the flow state. So like for me, I try to batch tasks as well or like block things as much as I can, whether it's back to back calls or just doing one specific thing for like 2 to 3 hours on end because I know like maybe 30 minutes in I'm still feeling it, but I know by an hour in I'm going to be doing that thing at full brain capacity and just focusing on getting that task done. I wish there was a world where I don't have to take a single call. That would be amazing because then I could just do the work.
Solve an AI agent to take all of
Yeah,
your calls.
maybe. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I grow the business, I realize like my productivity doesn't stem from me doing the tasks anymore, and that's another mindset shift I'm currently in the process of kind of internalizing. Is the productivity that I'm providing to the business is just more opportunity for is like more business opportunities rather than is this email going out or is this design done? Because I'm not specifically boots on ground anymore. I have people working on that for me. So now it's just like, okay, can we grow the revenue? Can we make different business connections? Can we make new referral partners? So like, unfortunately, my life is going to be more calls instead of less calls. But again, I'm just getting used to that sort of like mindset shift.
Right, almost like shifting from an operations role to more of that strategic visionary kind of, yeah, looking at the big picture. Where is the business going? How is everybody operating? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, for people who want to find out more about you and your work, where can they connect with you online?
Yeah, the best place would be on, well, first is like our website, aspectagency.com, ASPEKT agency.com. I also put out weekly YouTube videos on my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Nikita Vakrushev. If you want to learn more about that email side, like I go very deep into it on that. LinkedIn, post daily on there. And if you want to see my personal stuff, it's just my Instagram. It's my name.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks, Ellie. Have a good one.